What if you opened your front door one night and found 3 children standing on your porch? No parents, no car, no noise, just 3 small kids looking up at you in the dark. Now what if those children were not from this planet? That is exactly what happened to one man. A simple man. A nobody. A mechanic living alone in rural Montana, who never once imagined his life would become the most extraordinary story in human history. He did not choose this. Nobody asked him. But he said yes. And that single decision changed everything. Tonight you are going to hear 3 things that will stay with you long after this video ends. You are going to hear how one human raised 3 alien daughters and gave them a life they were never supposed to have. You are going to hear what happened when the world outside started closing inches. And you are going to hear what happened the night the sky opened up again, and the most powerful being in the galaxy came back to collect what was hers. But the truth behind this story goes so much deeper than you think. Let me show you exactly how this happened. His name was Marcus Cole. He was 32 years old. He lived alone in a small house on the edge of a quiet town in rural Montana. The kind of town where everybody knew everybody, where people waved from their trucks and minded their own business after dark. Marcus liked it that way. He worked as a mechanic. Nothing fancy. He fixed old trucks, broken farm equipment, and cars that had seen better days. He was patient with broken things. He was good with his hands. He did not need much. He had a dog named Diesel, a coffee maker that broke every 3 weeks, and a porch where he liked to sit at night and watch the stars. That was his whole life. Simple, quiet, and very much alone. On the night of September the 14th, Marcus was sitting on that porch. The sky was clear. The stars were bright. Diesel was asleep near his feet. Marcus was drinking his coffee and listening to nothing. Just the wind in the dark fields and the occasional sound of something moving far away in the trees. Then Diesel woke up. The old dog lifted his head slowly. His ears went straight up. He stared at the sky and went completely silent. Not a growl. Not a bark. Just silence. And Marcus had owned that dog long enough to know that silence was always worse than barking. Marcus looked up. The stars were still there. Every single one of them. But one of them was moving. Slow at first, then faster. Then it curved in a way that no plane or satellite ever moved. And then it stopped, directly above his house, and a light came down from it. Soft, pale blue, quiet as moonlight but 10 times brighter. Marcus stood up from his chair. His heart was beating hard, but his legs did not move. Some part of him that he could not explain told him to stay right where he was. Like something very old in his blood, already understood what was happening even if his brain did not. The light lasted maybe 30 seconds. Then it was gone. The sky went dark again. Diesel let out one small sound and put his head back down. Marcus stood very still. Then he heard it. 3 knocks at his front door. Slow, deliberate, like someone who had been taught exactly how humans knock on a door. He walked inside. His hand rested on the door handle for just a moment. He breathed inches. Then he opened it. 3 children were standing on his porch. The first one was the smallest, maybe 6 years old. Her skin was pale and had a faint glow to it, the way moonlight sits on snow. Her hair was pure white and fell long down her back. Her eyes were large and completely silver, with no pupil that Marcus could see. She was wearing something thin and metallic that moved like fabric, but caught the light like armor. She was staring at him without blinking. The second child was a little taller, maybe 7. Her skin was blue. Not sick-looking. Not wrong. The kind of blue that lives in deep water on a perfectly clear day. Her hair was dark and braided tight against her head. Her eyes were a deep violet. She was holding the hand of the first girl. The third child was the tallest, maybe 8 years old. Her skin was a deep, rich green, not the bright green of anything cartoon or fake. Something closer to the color of leaves in the deepest part of a forest in late summer. Her hair was white and wild and floated slightly even without wind. Her eyes were gold. She was not looking at Marcus. She was looking behind her, checking the sky, checking the field, like she was making sure nothing had followed them. None of them spoke. Marcus looked at them for a long moment. He looked up at the sky. He looked back at them. He looked at Diesel, who had quietly walked to the door and was now sitting beside the three girls like he had known them his entire life. Then a voice came from behind them. It did not come from the ground. It came from above, already moving away, already leaving. The voice was calm, and it was low, and it carried a power in it that Marcus felt in his chest before he understood any of the words. It said 3 things. Keep them safe. That was all. 3 words, and then the light vanished. The sky went empty and quiet, and Marcus Cole was standing at his front door in rural Montana at 3 in the morning, looking at 3 alien children on his porch. The white-haired girl finally blinked. She looked up at him. Her silver eyes found his face and held it. And then she said one single word in English so clear and quiet it cut straight through everything he was feeling. Please. Marcus Cole stepped back from the door. He let them inches. And that was the night everything changed forever. The first weeks were hard in ways Marcus had not expected. He did not know what alien children ate. He did not know if they needed sleep the way humans did. He did not know if their abilities were safe, or if something could go wrong without any warning. He was a mechanic. He fixed engines. He had no training for any of this. He had no one to call. He figured it out the same way he figured out everything in his life. One day at a time. The white-haired girl told him her name on the first morning. She sat at his kitchen table, pointed to herself, and said clearly, Lyra. Then she pointed to the blue-skinned girl and said, Zara. Then she pointed to the green-skinned girl and said, Nara. Nara was still watching the window. The food question solved itself quickly. They were hungry. They ate eggs. They ate toast. They were confused by orange juice for about 45 seconds, and then Zara drank 3 glasses of it back to back, and Marcus decided that was good enough. They slept, but only about 4 hours each. By the time Marcus woke at 6 every morning, all 3 of them were already sitting in the living room, waiting for him, quiet and patient as anything he had ever seen. He enrolled them in school. He told the office they were his nieces visiting from overseas. He explained their appearance as a rare genetic condition. Small towns in Montana asked fewer questions than big cities. He was grateful for that. The girls were smart enough to do whatever he told them to do and ask questions about it later. That helped. But their abilities could not be hidden completely. Lyra could feel emotions, not thoughts. Emotions. She could walk into any room and within seconds tell you exactly what every person in it was feeling inside. She never used it to take advantage of anyone. She used it to help. When Marcus sat on the porch at night and said nothing, Lyra would come out and sit beside him without being asked. She never spoke. She just sat there, and somehow that was always exactly enough. Zara was strong. So strong that during her first week at school, she caught a child who fell from the jungle gym with one hand. Did not even flinch. The child was heavy. Zara was 7 years old. The school called Marcus within the hour. He picked her up. On the drive home, he said quietly and without anger, "You have to be more careful." Zara nodded. She understood. She was smart. All 3 of them were extraordinarily smart. Nara's ability was harder to understand at first. It came through slowly over weeks. She could sense danger before it happened. Not like something from a superhero movie. More like a deep instinct tuned to frequencies no human instrument could detect. She would stop in the middle of eating and go completely still. Eyes distant, listening to something nobody else could hear. And every time she did that, something happened shortly after. A car nearly hit them. A stranger appeared at the edge of the property and then left without explanation. A path they had been about to walk down turned out to have a problem Marcus never would have spotted in time. Marcus started paying very close attention to Nara. The years passed. The girls grew. Lyra became someone other kids came to with their hardest problems. She listened in a way that made people feel understood without her saying much. Zara ran in track and always finished second or third on purpose. Marcus had once seen her run alone on a back road at full speed, and she had blurred. He had stood there with his mouth open and said nothing. Nara grew her garden. She could sit in the dirt for hours. Plants grew twice as fast when she touched them. They became happy. That was the word that surprised Marcus most. He had expected survival. He had expected difficulty. He had not expected happy. But 10 years passed, and that was the word that fit best. He had not planned to love them. Love had arrived the way it always did. Quietly, without asking permission. And by the time he noticed it, it had already been there for years. By the time Lyra was 13, Zara was 12, and Nara was 11, the small house in Montana did not feel small anymore. It felt like home. Marcus had added a proper garden in the back for Nara. He had built a small weight room in the garage for Zara, where she could actually test her strength without worrying about being seen. He had filled the house with books because Lyra read the way other people breathed. Constantly and without stopping. They were happy. He said that again to himself, sometimes on the porch at night. Almost like a reminder. Almost like a warning to himself not to take it for granted. But Nara was getting quieter. It started in small ways. She would stop mid-sentence and look at the sky. She would wake up at 3 in the morning and stand at her window for an hour without moving. She stopped finishing her meals. Her gold eyes started looking distant in a way Marcus had never seen before. Like she was watching something happening somewhere else entirely. Marcus noticed all of it. He waited. He gave her space. Then one evening in early October, she came to him in the garage while he was working on a truck. She stood in the doorway for a moment. Then she walked over and sat on the workbench beside him the way she had done 100 times over the years. She was quiet for a while, the kind of quiet that had something large inside it. Then she said, "She is coming back." Marcus set down his wrench. He did not ask who. He already knew. He said, "When?" Nara said, "Soon." He nodded slowly. He picked up his wrench again. His hand stayed steady. His chest did not. That night he made dinner. He made their favorite. Eggs and toast with honey. It had been a comfort meal since the very first morning when 3 alien girls had sat at his table, and he had not known what else to offer them. It had stayed their favorite meal for 10 years. Simple food with 10 years of memory baked into it. They sat at the table together. The kitchen was warm. The light was golden. Diesel was asleep near the back door. Old now. Gray around the face. But still there. Still faithful. Marcus looked at each of them. Lyra reading the room quietly, as she always did. Zara eating fast the way she always had, like the food might disappear. Nara sitting still with her eyes on the window. He had not planned any of this. He had not planned to become someone's father. But somewhere between the first morning and this one, that is exactly what had happened. He did not say anything about what Nara had told him. Not that night. But later, standing alone on the porch in the cold October air, he looked up at the same sky he had looked at 10 years ago. The same stars. The same quiet. Everything up there looked calm and still and very far away. But Marcus knew better now. Something was coming back, and he needed to decide how he was going to face it. 3 weeks after Nara's warning, the signs started. The first ones were easy to miss. Small flashes of light in the northeastern sky. Quick. High up. Moving in patterns no aircraft ever moved inches. Marcus started watching for them every night. By the 5th night, Nara was standing on the porch beside him without being asked. Neither of them spoke. They just watched together. The animals started behaving strangely. The birds went quiet for entire days. Diesel stopped sleeping in the kitchen and started sleeping by the front door every night. The deer that had visited the edge of the property at dusk for years simply stopped coming. The girls felt it too. Lyra stopped going to school. She sat at the kitchen table one morning and said quietly that she did not think she should be around a lot of people right now. Marcus did not argue. He called the school. Zara stayed close to the house. She found reasons to always be in whatever room Marcus was in. She did not explain it. She did not have to. Her eyes were always checking doors and windows. Always scanning. Always ready. Nara barely slept at all. She sat by her window through most of each night. But her expression was not fear. It was something closer to calm preparation. Like someone who had known something was coming for a long time and had made their peace with it. Marcus kept the house running. He made meals. He checked every lock twice. He filled up the gas tank in his truck and kept it full. He did not know exactly what he was preparing for. He just knew that 10 years of raising these 3 girls had taught him one thing above everything else. When Nara went quiet, you prepared. On the 14th night, the power went out. Not just the house. The whole town. Every light for miles went dark at the same exact second. No storm. No wind. No warning at all. Just total darkness in an instant. All 3 girls were in the hallway before Marcus had even found his flashlight. He shone it on their faces. Silver eyes. Violet eyes. Gold eyes. All looking at him calmly. Lyra said, "It is her." Marcus said, "I know." He walked to the front door. He opened it. The sky was lit up in a deep blue light that covered everything as far as he could see. It came from above, but it did not feel like a threat. It felt enormous and ancient. It felt like standing in front of something so powerful that the human brain could not fully understand what the eyes were seeing. And through that light a structure descended. Not a ship in any traditional sense. More like a piece of the sky itself had come to ground. Crystal and dark metal, and something living in the way it moved. Silent. Enormous. It settled in the far end of the field in front of the house without making a sound. Marcus stood on the porch. The 3 girls were behind him. Close together, the way they had learned to stand in the earliest days when they were not yet sure if something was safe. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then a door opened in the side of the structure. Warm golden light poured out, and in that light a figure appeared. Tall, moving with a grace that seemed impossible for something so large. Dressed in something between silver and deep black. A crown that was not quite a crown. Eyes visible from 50 feet away, because they held all 3 colors at once. Silver, violet, gold. The alien queen had returned. She walked across the field slowly. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. The only sound was the low hum of the crystal structure, and one distant bird somewhere in the dark. She stopped 10 feet from the porch steps. She looked at her daughters. At each of them. Slowly. For a long time. Her expression was not cold or hard. It was the expression of someone who had been carrying something very heavy for a very long time. Then she looked at Marcus. She said, You kept them safe. Marcus said, Yes. She said, You did more than that. He said nothing, because she was right and he knew it. She stepped closer. She spoke to her daughters in their language. It was soft and flowing, and full of sounds no human mouth could form. Marcus watched the girls' faces as she spoke. He saw something loosen inside each of them, something they had been carrying quietly for 10 years. Lyra stepped off the porch first. She walked to her mother. The queen held her. Then Zara came down. Then Nara. And the queen held all three of them at once. There in the dark field, in the blue light, a mother and her daughters, together again after 10 years. Marcus stood on the porch and watched. He did not go down. He understood that this moment was not his. He stood with his hands in his jacket pockets and let himself feel everything he had been pushing aside for 3 weeks. Then the queen looked up at him. She walked toward the porch. Her daughters followed. She stopped at the bottom of the steps and looked up at him. And this time Marcus could see clearly what was in her eyes. It was not only gratitude. It was grief. The grief of someone who had made an impossible choice years ago and had lived with the cost of it every single day since. She said, I came back to take them home. That was always the plan. She paused. But they are not the same as when I left them. Marcus said, No, they are not. She said, Neither are you. He had nothing to say to that, because it was completely true. Then Nara stepped forward. She stood between her mother and Marcus. She looked at her mother and she spoke. Her voice was quiet but completely certain. The queen listened without interrupting. Her face shifted. Then Zara spoke. Then Lyra. All three of them together, talking to their mother. Calm, clear, decided. Marcus did not understand the words. He did not need to. He had spent 10 years learning to read these three girls. He knew exactly what they were saying. When they finished, the queen was silent for a very long time. Then she looked at Marcus and said, They want you to come with us. Marcus went very still. She said, They say you are their family. They say wherever they go. You go, a pause. I find I cannot argue with them. Marcus looked at the three girls. Silver eyes, violet eyes, gold eyes, waiting, hoping. He looked back at the house, his small house, his ordinary life, his broken coffee maker and his old faithful dog, and his quiet existence in a town nobody had heard of. Then he looked at his daughters again. He took a breath. He said, Let me get Diesel. And for the first time since she had walked across that field, the alien queen smiled. It was the most beautiful thing Marcus Cole had ever seen in his entire life. He went inside. He picked up his old dog. He walked back out into the blue light. And together, all five of them walked toward the stars. Here is what makes this story hit differently from everything else. Marcus Cole was not a hero. He was not a warrior or a genius or a chosen one. He was a mechanic from Montana who opened his door one night and said yes to something he did not understand. He showed up every single morning for 10 years without a manual or a plan or anyone telling him he was doing it right. And that quiet, stubborn, everyday love turned out to be the most powerful thing in the universe. The alien queen had all the power in the galaxy, but she could not give her daughters what one ordinary human gave them. Home, consistency, unconditional presence, the kind of love that never announced itself. It just showed up. And in the end, that love was so real and so deep that even a queen from the stars could not walk away from it. The universe had tested Marcus Cole in the most impossible way imaginable. He had passed. And the most surprising thing of all is this. He never once thought of himself as extraordinary. If this opened your eyes to what ordinary people are truly capable of. Before you go, here is what this story really came down to. One man said yes when he could have said no. He loved three extraordinary beings without asking for anything in return. He prepared quietly when everyone around him was asleep. And when the moment came, he did not beg or fight or bargain. He just picked up his dog and walked forward. That is HFY. That is humanity at its absolute best. If you made it this far, you already know this channel is different. We do not do filler. We do not waste your time. Every story here is built to take you somewhere. So if you are new here, hit that subscribe button right now. Turn on notifications so you never miss a story. And if this one moved you even slightly, drop a comment below. Tell me this. If you were Marcus, would you have walked into that light? Yes or no? I want to know. And if you want to go deeper into stories like this one, the next video is already waiting for you. Click it now. It picks up exactly where this kind of story leaves off. The stars are full of stories. Stay with us. We are just getting started.